part 2 of my layoff series. This one is about making sure that you are absolutely indispensable. We do not want you to be part of a layoff. What are some of the best strategies and tactics that you can take and areas you can focus on to make sure that you become an indispensable employee? I've got 10 of these. Let's roll. All right, first thing is, I do want you to know there's another video on my YouTube channel called How to Make Yourself Indispensable at Work. This is a great starting point also for what we're talking about today. It goes along with truly making yourself a valued employee. All right, number 1, results. So with results, I want you to, I don't want to just say, hey, crank the widgets out. I want you to make sure that A, you are delivering absolutely exceptional results. I mean, truly, truly exceptional. What does that mean? Well, you're not just delivering, you're over-delivering. You're not just delivering, you're delivering faster, you're delivering more. And so when you are looking at the metrics that you need to hit, I would try to overachieve. I would always want to overachieve. That's just a great thing to begin with. So in the previous session, we talked about making sure that you ask the question about what does success look like. A big part of you being successful, whether this is a new job or an existing job, doesn't make any difference, is knowing what the results were and how you're going to be measured. You need to know what the specific results are that you need to attain. If those are not clear, you don't know how well of a job you're doing. So that's number 1. The second thing is the skill sets. Now, it's one thing to learn your skills on the job, but what I'm talking about to make yourself truly indispensable is to think about all of the transferable skills that will transcend or bleed into other positions or will transcend your level, that you are building foundational skills, organizational skills, communication skills, other skills of that nature that are so foundational to any function that you could possibly be in. These transferable skills will make you indispensable. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about the market, we were talking about AI, and I said I had talked to about a half a dozen recruiters, and I was asking them, were they letting people go? How were they choosing this? What was happening? And every single one of them said, when we looked at letting people go, if it was due to technological reasons or whatever that might be, we hung on to the individuals who were the most versatile, the most likable, the best cultural fit, and the ones that we could build around, even if they didn't have the absolute best technical skills. This is what I'm talking about with item number 2. That makes you indispensable. It truly does. Or at least it makes you part of the nucleus that an organization wants to hang on to. All right, the next thing, relationships. Now, I have this saying, I wrote it in the Zebra Code. It's not who you know, it's not what you know, it's who knows what you know. Well, a big part of that is it's 3 and 4, establishing relationships and making sure what you're doing is visible. I want to take these together. It's one thing to make sure that you actually know the people and have shown genuine interest in them. This is a big deal. I coached a guy a couple weeks ago. I've mentioned this a time or two. He'd gotten a job at JP Morgan Chase, and he's running a unit with 122 people in it. He said to me, I want to set up a coaching session with you because I really want to build great relationships with the people that I'm affecting and that are affecting me, people I support, people that are my partners, people I manage. Could we set up a session to do this? I said, yes. And so we spent an entire hour mapping out a communication plan and a governance plan, a communication governance plan of what he was going to do with his boss and his boss's boss, his staff and his staff's staff, and his peers. So all of those entities, how do you build relationships with them? And a big part of building those relationships was understanding how he supported them, what he could do to better support them, what he could do for them to make them easier for them to support him in those cases. So it was all about the focal point, building relationships. How is your life going to benefit from the fact that I'm here? And the next thing is, but there needs to be visibility to what you're doing and what you're producing. And a lot of you, I know, might say, well, geez, dear Coach Andy, I don't want to brag and I don't want to blow my own horn. I totally get it. I'm not even talking about that. And it's nice that if your company wants to put your project in a newsletter, they can do that. I'm talking about visibility. This visibility could be, hey, like that guy that I just mentioned. When you go and you talk to your staff's staff, it could be, hey, I want you to know I put this in place for you. I'd really like you to make sure you put your suggestions here. I'm working on these projects where I'd really love your input. Anything that makes something known makes it visible. What's wrong with, hey, you're on a team and you put a best practice together and that team over there does something a little different, but they do like 8 of the 9 general steps you do. Could you give them the checklist? Could you give them the methodology? Can you give them the framework? Can you powwow with them? There's nothing wrong with saying, hey, to your boss, hey, would it be okay if I worked with so-and-so to share this? We've now made this a pro forma for our team. That could be making things visible. That's just helping. That's not bragging, right? So what you're doing needs to be visible and known. And then adaptability. So I'm not just talking about roll with the punches. I want you to be adaptable in every essence of the word. So what do I mean? All right, well, AI comes around. Well, being adaptable, if you're a technologist, is learn the damn thing. Okay, how embrace it, lean into it, don't shy away from it. Okay, don't complain about how it's replacing people. It's here to stay. So roll with it. That's one thing. Adaptable could be, hey, we decided we're going to conflate this group and this group. We're going to merge them. All right, well, that's change. That's an organizational change. There's a change management element to that. Roll with it, right? Just roll with it. Embrace it. How? Just automatically assume it's for the good. Don't assume it's for the bad. Don't assume your life's going to be worse. No one cares if it is, right? It's going to happen. You may as well roll with it. So those are just a couple of examples, but that's what I'm talking about. Organizations want people who are adaptable. They do. Now, on the one hand, I like it when you are flexible in some aspects and inflexible in other aspects. But for the examples that I provided, that's where I'm talking about when I say adaptability. I think that's one of your greatest assets. The next thing is currency. Are you actually current in your field? I cannot get over how many people don't keep up to date on the latest changes. You know what? I'm old. I'm going to be 59 in a couple of months. All right. But I guarantee you that I am keeping up with all the new trends that are going on in the careers market. I'm using every technological tool I can find to make sure that my products and my services are as good for my customers as they can be. You've got to challenge yourself. And even if your company is not moving forward, you need to be moving forward and you need to be offering up suggestions on what the latest tools, techniques are, whatever it might be, and how they can help you and your team move forward. They may or may not be able to budget for it. They may or may not be able to change it on a dime, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be current, because I'm telling you that more likely than not, they're going to let the people go who they don't think can keep up with current trends and skill sets. And then the problems. I don't want you to just be a great problem solver, because everybody technically is. I just assume you're a good problem solver, which is why you being a problem solver does not set you apart in an interview or for a promotion or anything of that nature. Problems. Are you able to figure out future problems, position yourself today so that you don't have problems tomorrow, or you're able to more easily overcome them, or you're working toward tomorrow's problems, like I said in the last session? So what do I mean? Maybe you're the technologist who's developing a platform, and right now you're developing it and you're putting in certain checks, balances, or you're coding it a particular way or designing it with flexibility so that in a year or two, when you start bolting stuff on, it's way easier to maintain. That's addressing future problems, right? You're bulletproofing something, you're making it last. Or, hey, I'm working toward Once we get into a capacity where I have so many users on the system, I know my problem number one is to get the platform up. My problem number two is to get people on the platform. And then I'm going to be working on a capacity problem because you're going to be selling more and we're going to be having more customers. I had to message the people who run the Andy AI platform about performance issues. They said, well, we're growing at 86% a month. I'm like, I understand that, but I got people who need this thing to work, right? What are you doing to tune it? So you follow me, right? Well, that's a problem. That's a problem that they need to plan for. And these guys are doing actually a great job, but it's just an example. And then, are you cost conscious? Are you going in and complaining about your compensation when half the people are getting let go in your company? Or are you looking at ways to be more frugal in the way your organization spends money? Are you going to your boss and saying, hey, here's the technically correct solution. It costs $100. Here's the 98% solution. We should go with this because it only costs $40. And I probably can get it down to 30 if we chisel out these two things, right? You're always looking at economics and you're always thinking of ways, if I can do this, it will save us money. And you're actually having these discussions with the people who matter. And then in general, I want you to have a good attitude. I think this goes without saying, although what I have found lately is that many people think that their employers owe them a living. No one owes you anything. Your career is up to you. You can outsource a lot of things. Your career isn't one of them. And yes, I want you to work for an organization that loves and cares for you. But this is cyclical. The better attitude you have, the greater the likelihood that they're going to want to take care of you. The worse the attitude you have, the less likely that's going to be the case. And then the last thing to round out this 10 is I want you to be prepared. So a la the first session about investigating them with the 16 different questions and making sure that you can detect this, I want you to go through the first 9 to make sure that you're absolutely indispensable. But if you are not, if you just can't avoid it, right? I need you to be making sure that you are continually keeping yourself up to date as it relates to needing to go into a job search. But let me tie this into what I mean about being indispensable at work. So I have a career achievements journal. It's a checklist with 14 items in it. I tell you that if you evaluate these 14 items, you will be collecting awesome data about your work history, your accomplishments, the impact it's had, because it's about the problem that you're addressing, the project that you're working on, the participants who are contributing, what the business challenge is, what you're doing, what you're learning, all of the impact you're having in a number of things that you're collecting. Well, every time you do that, number one, you're positioning yourself, you're creating resume building material while it's fresh in your mind. So you don't look back 4 years and go, well, I don't know what the metrics are, Coach Andy, because I didn't capture any of that. Well, you're going to have it all. It goes into your succession planning database or your career development database or anything that your organization has that keeps performance reviews and other things in order. All that data should be going in there. Add it as an addendum if they don't have it, which is ridiculous if they don't have it. The other thing that it's doing, not only is it positioning you for great stories should you need to go for a promotional interview or an interview with a new employer, but what it's also doing is it's helping your organization reflect on the impact they're having with their customers or their internal teams or their staff or whoever it is. So being prepared is a combination of pulling this material together for the benefit of your organization, because I guarantee people are not doing this. At least not unless they're coming to my shows and they've grabbed the Career Achievements Journal because they don't know what information to collect or how to use it. So I would grab that freebie, and this will not only help you capture the information that is highly beneficial to you as a market for the marketing effort of you, but also for the organization from a reflection standpoint, not to mention from a marketing perspective. You might be working on projects that will serve as case studies to pitch to new prospects or potential clients, right? So there are a lot of value. So let's recap these 10. Results, skills, relationships and visibility, all right? Being adaptable, making sure you are current on your skill sets, making sure that you are working tomorrow's problems, or you are positioning yourself to more easily overcome tomorrow's problems, cost conscientiousness, the right attitude, and making sure you're prepared. All right. Hope you enjoyed this little lesson on making sure that you are layoff proofing your career. 10 tactics or strategies to stay indispensable. If you like this portion or this part of the series, make sure you click the like button, share it. People need help. If you're here with me live, we're going into the next session. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.